This video was making its rounds, and it's a Georgia teacher who over Zoom is actually talking about Breonna Taylor's death and blaming her, not the police. So let's watch a clip of this, and then I'll go over my reactions, because I've got a slightly different reaction, I think, than most people do.
So I'm saying that the one that was killed in the gunfire from the cops, she was hanging out with the guy who was wanted on charges. They had that, and he fired at them and they fired back. You know, if you hang out with people who are criminals and they shoot at a cop, you're likely to get caught in the crossfire. It does not matter what color your skin is, you're likely to get caught in the crossfire. I'm sorry she's dead. I really, truly am. It's sad that she put herself in that position. But she put herself in that position by hanging out with somebody she shouldn't have been with. The thing, she was with her boyfriend who was a criminal.
That was her ex-boyfriend. They came to the wrong house.
Yeah, they came, bro, what?
That was his ex-boyfriend. He didn't live there anymore.
What, did he fire the first shot though?
No, nobody shot anything. The cops shot first. If he shot, that was self-defense anyways, because that was the wrong house they was at. Come on, forensic science.
Okay, if you got a no-knock warrant, and besides that, I'll tell you right now.
The right guy was already in custody earlier that day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm sorry she's dead, but they actually have proof that he fired at them first. Now,
alright, let's talk about that.
A lot of people are calling to expose this teacher, fire her. There's all kinds of these threats, and people hate her and how she's a horrible person, da-da-da. I'm not blaming the teacher for this. Now, the one thing I will put on the teacher is that I'm not sure exactly the context in terms of bringing this up during class, because I don't think this is an appropriate subject to bring up in classes. Now, if this is some sort of a class about, legal, events throughout history, or, police events, there's certain courses where you could understand bringing up these kinds of topics, for example, for research, etc. I don't believe in this class there was any kind of a relation to this story to the actual content of the subject being taught. So I will say that was probably an inappropriate thing for the teacher to bring up. However, this is an example where she simply was misinformed at the highest level. All right. And if you say, hey, like you said, you don't want to censor stuff, like, that's true. I don't. I think that when it comes to censorship, it's wrong. I think there should be zero censorship. But with zero censorship means that we do have to have some accountability. And there seems to still be a lack of it when it comes to certain events, whether it's with police officers or with politicians. Once you kind of have this certain rank, so to speak, in the legal system, in the public eye, you're kind of above the law, so to speak. And if you go ahead and you watch the video of the full event, and it's graphic and dark, and it's kind of hard to watch, but there's parts where, the officers there are joking about someone getting shot, and then they go ahead and they turn off their cameras and their mics because they want to get together to discuss the actual event, so they can, tell the precinct exactly what happened before this goes public. And so the problem here is you got, these special prosecutors who go ahead and take on these cases, and they know the officers, they know the families, they know all this. So what they do is they throw the charges up the wazoo. So instead of just having your, a case of, second degree, murder or whatever, they throw it up and they're like, for everyone who got shot. So say, you got 3 or 4 people that got shot or whatever in this example, instead of saying, X, Y, and Z, they're like, okay, that was like 8 cases of intentional, first degree murder, and then they throw in, like planting evidence. Like, they throw in all these charges that are up the wazoo, and so then of course when all these charges are there, then the judge and jury, they're not going to find the person guilty on these things, and so because they throw these crimes up the wazoo, they always get off. Always. And so there's never any proper punishment. And so there just has to be better accountability for everyone. And when I say everyone, I've always said it before, more accountability when it comes to our, legislators and our representatives, our president, all of our leaders politically. But you also have to look at those other kind of leadership positions, which does fall into, the areas of policing. And so we really need better accountability there. So I don't blame the teacher for any of this. I think it may have been inappropriate to bring it up at that time. I don't think she should be punished for this at all. This is just an example of, from the highest level, basically, these police districts or precincts, putting out their own stories before any investigation comes. And then that becomes a standard, basically, for the story. So if you're still sticking around, it means you probably heard something you liked. So please support the channel by clicking that subscribe button and thumbs upping this video. And if you really didn't like this video, thumbs down it twice.